Welcome! Today we are diving deep into Numbers chapter 11, a profound passage that explores human nature, the heavy burden of leadership, and divine provision mixed with judgment. This chapter shows us exactly what happens when freedom collides with the harsh realities of the wilderness. Almost immediately after leaving Sinai, the people complain, and God's anger blazes. He sends a fire that destroys the outskirts of the camp until Moses prays, naming the place Taberah, the place of burning. Unchecked complaining doesn't just lower morale, it acts as a destructive fire that immediately consumes the vulnerable edges and weakest links of an organization. The fear doesn't last long. A foreign rabble begins to deeply crave Egypt, weeping for the fish, cucumbers, and garlic they used to eat. They completely despise the daily miracle of manna. When faced with the boring discipline of daily miracles, human nature will aggressively romanticize the toxic comfort of past enslavement just to satisfy a temporary, fleeting appetite. Moses hears every family standing in their doorways, whining. It pushes him to his absolute breaking point, crying out in raw vulnerability, "Do me a favor and spare me this misery. Just kill me." A leader cannot function as a psychological sponge for a team's endless dissatisfaction. Absorbing unmitigated collective anxiety will inevitably push even the strongest visionary to complete burnout. God listens and responds with a practical solution. He tells Moses to gather 70 recognized elders at the tabernacle, promising to take some of the Spirit upon Moses and put it on them. Sustainable leadership requires decentralization. You must deliberately transfer the authority and spirit of the core vision to a trusted council to prevent systemic collapse. Interestingly, 2 men, Eldad and Medad, stay behind in the camp, but the Spirit rests on them and they prophesy anyway. Joshua urges Moses to stop them, but Moses humbly replies, "I wish all the Lord's people were prophets." True visionary leadership is completely devoid of insecurity. A secure leader celebrates when team members step up, even outside the formal structures. God's response to the whining crowd, however, is severe. He promises meat for a whole month until they gag on it. Moses doubts, wondering how to feed 600,000 foot soldiers even if they butchered every flock. Extreme operational stress causes leaders to calculate solutions based purely on their own limited resources, temporarily blinding them to the infinite capacity of the one providing for them. God answers, "Has my arm lost its power?" A wind brings a staggering volume of quail from the sea, flying just 3 feet off the ground for miles. The people gather greedily, hoarding massive piles of meat. Sometimes the most severe judgment a system can inflict is giving an immature, greedy culture exactly the overwhelming abundance it relentlessly demanded. Their gluttony brings swift and fatal judgment. While they gorge themselves, with the meat literally still in their mouths, a severe plague strikes. They name the place the graves of gluttony. Acquiring massive resources without the maturity to manage them will literally choke an organization. Unchecked greed destroys the very people it was supposed to feed. This chapter warns us about the lethal combination of complaining and gluttony, and the absolute necessity of shared leadership. This leaves us with 2 important questions to chew on today. First, in your own life, what past enslavement are you currently romanticizing just because your present journey feels difficult? And second, as a leader or team member, how do you actively share the heavy burden of the mission so that no single person is crushed under the weight of collective anxiety? Take a moment, breathe, and let them sink in.